Made.
Legend. This is going to get sweaty, innit?
Definitely.
Like over this hour, just progressively going to get more red and sweatier throughout this entire conversation, especially depending on what we talk about.
Most definitely.
Um, Welcome, man. So, Harley, how did we even get to know each other? Like, was it? I think I was in Vietnam at the time, and you were you doing some setting, weren't you?
I was at the time, yeah. When we first connected, you was actually training me on setting. So we just had
Is
a
it?
couple of Zoom calls, yeah. That was when he was in Vietnam and we were just doing some setting bits together, a bit of shadowing. And then, yeah, interestingly enough, we ended up having conversations more about travel and life. And I think we just connected more on a personal level than
Yeah,
so
we
much on
literally never
a
spoke about setting, did we? It was just about everything, everything
literally.
around it.
Literally.
Um, I like to just sort of let you. So, do you want to just sort of introduce yourself as to like give us like an overview, a quick high level view at what you do, who you are, what you're about, and from there, like I said, we're gonna have some fucking mad conversations today because we've apart from the hairline, we've got pretty much the same, with the exact same. So,
Definitely.
um,
Well, I recently bought this, so you can have one too, bro. I'll send you the link.
mate, I need to catch up. It's a problem, but I know.
Yeah, but as I say, my name's Harley. I'm 28, and the space I work in is kind of well varied. I kind of help people develop in different areas of their life, whether they're trying to expand on their mentality, physicality, they're trying to increase their finances, they want to get more spiritually attuned, or they're just emotionally trying to seek something more. And I've been working with people like that for the last 4 years now. And as time's gone on, I've kind of just developed the skill set of communication. And of course, that leads into sales and very similar things. As you say, we share a lot of the same morals, same values. And I think ultimately what it comes down to is just always wanting to embody a spirit of excellence on other people and help them understand that where you are doesn't have to dictate who you are, and that you can simply change your life from a couple of decisions.
What like I'm always interested in this because I try and ask myself this a lot as well because I'm in, like we said we've got very similar morals, views, and stuff like that. But I don't know when it happened. I don't know when I suddenly became like this. Like, do you have a defining moment in your life where you were like, oh, actually, everyone else is wrong, uh, and or not wrong, but that doesn't make sense. Like, I want to look at this thing differently, or I want to try something else.
Yeah, so I don't think it's so much of a canon event. I think there's parts of life where it can be a situation, a circumstance. Some people like to call it a form of trauma that you experience that completely reshapes the view you have on yourself, the world, others around you. And I think I can't pinpoint it to a specific point, but what I can almost bring it to is a time of my life, like a series of events that was happening throughout a duration of my life that just made me realize, like, okay, look, I am different, and that's not a problem. I think I just come to more of a point of acceptance or more of a point of realization where I saw how other people were behaving, I saw how other people were thinking, feeling, the habits they had, and I saw myself almost becoming a part of that, a contribution to the way these people were behaving. And one day I just sat down, and I think it was more of the act of using the act of metacognition, which is the ability to think about your own thinking. And I was sitting there in deep thought one day and I was like, right, okay, I don't feel like I'm behaving like myself, because if this was truly how I wanted to act and behave, I'd be feeling far more fulfilled than this. I'd be feeling far more happier. I'd be feeling far more purposeful. There's something missing inside me. I noticed a void, if anything. And I was trying to fill that void of external things, a nicer car, more money, more status, more people around me. And I just saw it wasn't working. And I think at some point you just have to not so much succumb to the idea of the sunk cost fallacy, where it's like, I put so much into this, surely something's got to pay off. It was like, this ain't working. Like, I'm not being me. So how about I just drive myself towards the things that feel more aligned with my views, what I believe in, and what just feels more right, and see where I end up. And over time, I think that continuous compounding of just making those decisions that more aligned with what I truly felt was right led me to where I am now.
It's wild because I've my opinion on this has changed over the last year. I'd say having working with quite a few people now on different like on sales specifically, but obviously mindset and everything there as well. I used to believe that it was very black and white. Like there were people like us who thought differently, felt like there was something missing, felt this void, and then there were people that weren't, and they just didn't have that missing piece. And the more I talk to people, the more I I don't know if you found the same, but I think the majority of people have that missing void, that I'm different feeling, but only the very, very, very small percentage of people ever do anything about it.
I agree. I think it's because those are the people that aren't fearful of what could be on the other side of it. Because I think it comes down to a point of tolerance where it's like, I understand there's something different about me, but I'm no longer going to tolerate the fact that I feel different. I'm going to actually do something about this, as opposed to I'm going to keep ignoring it and compressing it and trying to make myself fit in so that I will essentially distract myself from how I truly feel. And I think people like us that go out and achieve great things, or we become more purpose-driven men, or we provide some kind of service that can help other people grow and get through this type of stuff. I think the difference between us and those people is just lacking, or the absence of the fear of what is on the other side of uncertainty and change. I think that's the only difference.
Because it's and this is a conversation that I seem to have with everybody I talk to, but the fear is felt. Like I like for I can talk for myself, and I can't talk for you, but the people I've spoken to have similar mindset to us. The fear was always there. The fear is tangible. It's visceral. It's there. You can feel it, but it's the choice to walk through it anyway, and to add context to the path you're on. So if you are fearful of taking a step or doing something different or not following the crowd, yeah, that can dictate your actions, but then you should also look at the fear of what it'd be like if you lived this life forever and stayed the same and always felt this void.
Most definitely. And that, again, it all comes down to these very small traits or higher faculties that we all have, but very few of us have studied ourselves enough to understand what they are. So essentially, all that is just trusting yourself that you are going to be able to figure it out and know what's coming next. But then that fear, as you say, is there's times where it's absent, but it's also the distraction. And the higher faculty most people can't use is foresight, which is the ability to actually see ahead of where we are right now. Most people live in the past and it's keeping them where they are. So people use the term of, oh, what I've been through or who I am is holding me back. But no, that's actually holding you in place. Because if it wasn't for your past, you would be able to then move in a different direction. You're not stuck. You're actually making a subconscious decision to stay put. So by having the ability to see beyond your current situation and being able to tap into the idea of, okay, if I made this decision, would this contribute to getting closer to the attainment of a goal and then attaining a new reality? Or is it going to set me back or hold me where I am? And just by being able to use that, as you say, all your business decisions, everything you've done, everything you've tied your name to has always been with the idea or to leave the impression of, I want to grow from this. So you're actually seeking opportunities to grow in everything you do. So it's more of a perspective. Like you say, most people can't see that there's something different or they're going to continue living the same day again and again and again. But the issue is, although their situation right now isn't something they enjoy or it isn't something they may feel like they are choosing, because it is familiar to them, they would rather choose a familiar comfortability than go into the uncomfortable areas with the potential of being happy on the other side. So although it doesn't feel like a great place to be, they know the outcome because of the pattern recognition. They've seen the result again and again of living the same day the same. They know tomorrow is going to look like yesterday. They know next week's going to look like last week. They know next year's going to look like this year because they've done the same actions again and again, so they know the guaranteed outcome, which is why most people actually aren't fearful of failure because they're so used to it. Failing isn't an issue for most people. They're like, it's okay, I'll just give it a go, I'll try. If I fail, then so be it, I'm used to it. But people are actually fearful of success because they've not actually got any recollection or they've not got any idea of what happens when you actually achieve a goal because they've never gone past where they are right now. So when we say like what separates people with our mentality and the people that are just a bit docile or they don't move forward is because they struggle to see beyond their current situation.
Why do you think there is this separation in mindset? Do you think it's just hardwired? Do you think it's nurture, nature? Do you think it's a skill? What is it?
I think
It's
it
intangible,
really,
isn't it?
it is in a way, but you can also start to notice things in different people. Like you're in sales, right? You're very successful at what you do. Chances are you can get on a call with someone, you can see a form, you can see some form of qualification, and you already know who you're about to speak to. And that's for your pattern recognition of the qualities that most people hold. So what separates us, again, as I say, it's not so much of something that could just be hardwired or it's all upbringing, because the way that I was raised could be raised the exact same as you. But the decisions I made for my future could actually, as I've already mentioned, contribute to the attainment of moving forward. So I think what actually keeps people in that position is clear understanding on who they are. It's actually spending time to sit down with yourself, strip yourself back to the bare bones and write down, who am I? And I don't mean write down, my name is Harley, I'm 28, like we started off the call of how I introduced myself. I mean, if I was to put in my traits, my qualities, my beliefs, my habits into a printer, would I come out? And that is the issue most people have, is they're not actually aware enough of who they are because they've spent so long portraying a character or performing for other people because they think that they're going to prefer the version of the performer than they are the version of who they are. Because most people try to fit in with crowds. They want to be in the masses because when you're outside of it, if you're not, as we already said, hardwired, or you don't have a level of tenacity, or you're not actually accepting that I'm different, I'm willing to grow and go out there, and if I want more than other people, I have to do more. When people lack that, they actually lose who they are in the process because they've played a character for so long. So that's the difference, is actually just the self-awareness of who am I.
I've come to some conclusions in my head over the time that I think it's you sort of touched on it there regarding we want to fit in, we want to be part of the crowd, we want to have that, like, the circle, I guess, around us, and to not be the weirdo, I guess, or the outcast or the stranger. And it comes down to being a human, right? Like, we're a tribal being. We want to be in a tribe. We want to be in we're stronger as a team, right? So a shared negative opinion is still you feel validated by having that opinion. So you see, like, this, like how riots start and shit like that, like really negative, horrible shit that you see in the world. But because they're in a group, I bet they wouldn't do that if they were solo. No chance. They wouldn't say those things with their chest. They wouldn't say things like that. And I've seen this, I've felt this, and I'm sure you have too, but there's this chapter, which is called the Lonely Chapter, which I imagine you are very aware of, that you can't choose the circles that you grow up in, right? Like, we can't choose where we're born, we can't obviously choose our friends when we're growing up, but most of the time you're in the school, you've got your friend, your access pool, the pool of people that you have available to you, or tend to be the people that you'll find similarities with and whatever. When we start to get out that phase and into real world life, you go through that introspective phase, you look into your own head, like, why am I the way I am? What do I actually want from this life? All those thoughts that we should have. And then you see the people that you associate with, and it's not that they're bad people, that they just aren't maybe aligned with the version of you that you want to get towards. There are still people out there like that, right? Mm-hmm. But you're not immediately, just because I don't want those doesn't mean I have access to those. You have to, if you want to be in those rooms, if you want to rub shoulders with those people, you have to almost prove yourself in a way to get into those rooms and be that type of person, which is then a solo act, which I then think comes back to what you were saying about the fear of uncertainty and this period of unknown, is because not only is it unknown and different from anything you've ever done before, it's also, there's no how-to guide. Mm-hmm. Right? There's no one around you doing it, and there's no one to teach you to do it. Have you felt that?
Most definitely. And it's the gap, right? It's the gap from going from a familiar territory into stepping into something that we've never seen. And I actually just released a video on this called, I said about being influenced. Are you even aware of what's influencing you? And it's about your environment. And it's about how what you're surrounded by externally, whether that be like even your desk. You say you want to be productive, but you've got a messy desk. That's actually influencing your productivity more than the task you're actually doing. And the same as we've all heard the saying, you know, there's some of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I had people commenting on that video saying how much it shared the perspective to them, how they've realised that they go to their hometown, they behave the way they used to, they get around old friends, they'll be making jokes they made 5 years ago. And it is about influence. It's about the influence that a collective consciousness, if you want to call it that, will have on you. And people were even commenting saying, I'm trying so hard to grow, but I spend one meal with my family and I'm back to square one. But I just believe that's perspective, because what you're essentially saying is you're going to allow an outside perspective, an external word to become your internal word. And by doing this, you're actually then keeping yourself caught in this pit of people that, as you say, you don't ultimately align with. So that gap, that lonely chapter, I think it's not even something we just experience once in life. I don't think it's something that once you've gone through it, you're like, oh, I've done it. I got through it. I survived. Amazing. Now I'm with my people for life. Because as you continue to grow, and if you're someone who wants to become this great character or have that spirit of excellence in you and keep expanding on the skills you've got and the network and whatever else, you're going to experience this several times. Because there's a time when you're going to go from transitioning from your hometown friends, as you say, you can't pick the people you're raised with because that is just essentially what you have access to at the time. That's your local tribe. But then when you start to grow up and you go into different industries and you work in different jobs and you connect with different people, your network, they can now influence your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, and the way that you actually want to go in life. Because you can start to think you want what someone else has because of the way you think they feel about it. Like, you can see someone being successful in their field. You may not be any interested in whatever it is they do, but you think they look happy, so why not just try to do that? And then they'll try and be like that person when deep down this person's a public success, but they're a private failure. They also don't know who they are. And they're playing a character and they're trying to impress other people by behaving a way that others will do. So with that lonely chapter and that gap, yes, that is difficult. It is. And that's where I think a lot of people stay stuck. Why they continue to do the same things, even though it don't serve them. You ask them, are you actually happy doing what you're doing? They'll say no. But they'll convince themselves that where they are is the safest point for them. Because again, we can keep coming back to pattern recognition, but it's they understand what will happen if they're with the same friends. They know what will happen if they go to the same pub. They know what will happen if they celebrate the same way and do the same stuff again and again. People are actually afraid to change jobs. Like, people will slate their job to the end, but you'll say, why don't you just get a new job then? Like, oh no, that's not an option. It is that gap. Because it's like, at work, I know that I'm comfortable with my co-workers. But if I go to a new job, what if people don't like me? What if people don't know who I am? And that gap, again, as we say, is something you're going to experience as you go through life, because you may find an amazing community, you find an amazing mentor, you find an amazing group of individuals that you start to elevate in life with, and you can owe them everything to your current success. But as you outgrow those people in that space, you are going to head back into a lonely chapter again. And I think the only way to really not so much deal with it, because it's not like you're just trying to deal with the symptoms, but the way to actually accept that this is part of the process is to actually, first of all, put yourself in it and say, right, I've seen this before. I know this is a growth signal. So it's about having the perspective of the lonely chapter as a signal for growth, as opposed to it being something that you're suffering through.
Finding happiness in the chaos, dancing in the rain, whatever you want to call it. What is happiness then? Like, people are on, like, the sole motivation for pretty much every human on earth is happiness, but no one, it's like the freedom as well, freedom and happiness, right?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I think it all depends on each person's perspective. So I think happiness doesn't really have one definition. I mean, you could look at the dictionary definition and it will say a feeling, an emotion of overwhelming joy. But then when we look at freedom, again, that is all dependent and that is all perspective based on what someone would deem as freedom. Someone could deem freedom for not being under a harsh government. Someone could deem freedom by not working for a bad employer. Someone could deem freedom being able to travel the world at will. The same as success. You could deem success as having $1 million in the bank. You've got a family, you've got a dog, you've got a house. That could be your idea of success, but someone else's could be to come home, have a roof over their head, and their children are fed. So I think happiness is more of a perspective, and to be able to find what makes you happy, again, it comes down to just sitting down with yourself and asking yourself, okay, what do I think really would make me happy? If I could strip everything away and I could snap my fingers and I'd be in the exact situation or environment that would bring me that level of overwhelming joy, what does that look like for me? And for me, sometimes I'm happiest just on my own. That's the truth. Sometimes I'm happy just in my own company, doing whatever I want to do. Other times I feel really happy when I'm in another country and I'm with great people and I'm spending time with other people. I think for me, it all depends on where I'm at in my life. Sometimes I'm happiest when I'm building something new. Like right now, I'm spending so much time and energy building my YouTube channel. I'm editing videos until 2 a.m, but people would say, oh, you're working so hard, you're grafting. But to me, that's like, this is making me so happy. Do you know how happy I feel to see people gaining value from my insights that I share? That's making me happy. So I think what it is more to the point of not trying to find it in such external things, in like materialistic items. Like for some people that can make them happy, going out in retail therapy and shopping and whatever else. But at the bottom line of what happiness really is, I think it is all very perspective based on the individual who is seeking their version of it.
At the time that you're seeking it.
Yep.
Because it can change. Like what you just said there, it can be both. It can be sat by yourself reading a book, and it can be whatever, editing till 2 a.m. Why do you have that level of awareness?
I spent a lot of time in a dark time in my life understanding who I am. And that wasn't the original goal. Something I learned was the more I learned about myself, the more I understood other people. And the more I learned about other people, the more I learned about myself. So there was a period of time where I was thinking, why am I different? Why do I think this way? Why am I working a job that is paying me enough money for me to be happy or successful or to live a good life, but for some reason I'm still unfulfilled? It's such good money that I feel like I can't step away from it, but inside it's not making me feel good. I'm tired of this. But there's other people around me that were far more tolerable of the job because they were happy with the income. So I would stand there at 2, 3 in the morning as a railway engineer, screaming out into the darkness, I'm better than this. I always knew that there was more out there for me, and I understood that for me to get to something that feels like more, and for me to live a life that feels more fulfilling, I need to study who I am, and I need to figure out why I'm different. And to be honest, first of all, it started as a coping mechanism, because I wanted to understand what is so different about me than other people. And it led into studying so many successful people. Like I would sit there, and I don't just mean watch a podcast and hear someone's story. I would genuinely want to know every detail of someone's life, how they started from where they were to how they got to where they are now. I wanted to, first of all, again, cope to believe that, okay, if Tony Robbins can come from having 4 dads in his life, couldn't afford to have a Christmas dinner or Thanksgiving dinner, and had a stranger deposit it onto their porch so they could eat that night, and now he owns 100 and whatever companies and he's a billionaire, he's one of the best speakers in the world, how did he do that? There's something in him that was different from other people. I need to understand that to help understand me more. And I used to study relentlessly different people. Ed Milet, amazing person to study, from his upbringing, from where he was raised, because I was raised by an alcoholic parent, and he also was raised by an alcoholic father. So for me, I was just searching for similarities of like, if someone can come from a similar background to me, can I reach the outcome that they have? And the only difference between them and me is they understood something I didn't. So what is the gap? And that gap for me felt more like more information on who I am and why I operate the way I do than it was to go out and learn skills. So I would spend relentless amounts of hours reading, learning about me, journaling, and that obsession with just who I am and who I'm becoming has almost led me to be able to give the insights I do today, because everything that I teach or speak on is something I've experienced. I don't teach from theory. So when you're asking me these questions and I'm giving my response, I'm thinking back to times where I've personally experienced it, asked myself the question, and what was the outcome I came out with. And that's where the self-awareness came from. And from that point, it almost feels like, and you know, we can kind of go down the route of spirituality and like feeling like you have a purpose and whatever else. But I believe now, based off who I am as I speak to you now, and I feel like my gift of conversation and the way that I can portray a message is the reason why I experienced everything I did. Because if I didn't go through anything I did, I wouldn't actually have the known knowledge on the experience. I'd only be able to speak from theory. So that for me was a time in my life. It was like, I know I want more. I was raised in this situation. I don't want that for my family. All I can do is understand how to bridge the gap. And that's what brought me to this point now.
And are you still on that journey?
I think it's life. I think it's ongoing for life. We're always going to grow. We're always going to seek new insights. We're always going to find out more information. I think that journey will be lifelong, because I firmly believe, and this isn't to be cute and fluffy, I personally believe if we are not growing, we are dying. And the only way for me to grow and to get better is to continue to understand myself. And that started as looking for ways to cope, as I say. But now I need to understand, why am I so relentless? Why am I willing to work for hours and hours and hours and I don't feel tired? Why can I go when I'm passionate about something and I feel like I'm having an impact, I don't feel like I need to rest? Why am I so obsessed with seeing growth in my running, in my fitness, in my health? Why do I need to feel that urge to win all the time? And these are things that I study now. Because there was a point where I would be deemed as alienated, or why do you always need to win? Why are you so competitive? And I'd feel a victim of it, but then I'd almost be demonized for wanting to be better. So I then wanted to understand, okay, what is it with my unrelenting will to win? Why do I want to succeed so much? And winning doesn't necessarily mean someone else has to lose. For me, winning is just being better or overcoming the standard that I'd set for myself, thinking I couldn't achieve beyond where I was. So even just seeing my heart rate come down on a run is a win. Being able to go more miles a week is a win. Being able to lift more in the gym is a win. I just have this unrelenting competitive nature with myself. And at the same time, I don't just accept it. I don't just accept that anything is for what it is. I don't believe in it is what it is. I want to know, why is it what it is? I'm very inquisitive. And that starts...
What have you landed on? Why are you so driven? What is driving you?
Myself. I'm in a competition with myself every single day, and I always say it's not cute and fluffy because I know what modern day, personal development and stuff has come out of, like sounding like you want to do this stuff. But there's times where it can be very tiring, and I'm sure you can relate to this, where you just want to build something to an extent of you want to take over the world. Like that's how you feel about something. No one else can really share that same passion you have for that. And for me, it's always been, I do not want to leave this life leaving anything behind that I couldn't have given more to. Ed Milet said it before in one of his podcasts. He said one of his biggest fears is getting to the end of the road, meeting a version of him that he could have been, and it's a stranger. That for me hit really hard because I couldn't bear the thought of getting to the end of my life and being able to say, or having to say, I wish I did this differently. I treat life as an experiment. It's something that I should be able to just go out and just win and just succeed and just continue to do it, because every time I'd sit back and I'd choose comfort over going out and achieving something, to me, that feels like I am not actually showing gratitude for my potential. I'm not showing gratitude for the gifts I've been given. I'm not showing gratitude for who it is I can become on the other side of adversity. So I almost just feel like I'm indebted to this world to leave nothing but the best version of me behind it.
How do you narrow it down in your mind to things to focus on and things to ignore? How do you filter between, yes, I'm going to put, because sounds to me like you're all or nothing with your life, with your learning, with your running, with your YouTube, with your whatever, right? All or nothing. What gets all of you and what gets nothing of you, and why? How do you make that decision? Because I've honestly very, like, recently, and still probably as we're talking, struggle with this, where because I've got all this energy to act, I am almost paralyzed by that. Like it almost stands in the way, because I could, I know, and this might be delusion, you'll probably relate to this, but I could do anything on earth. If I put everything that I've got in here into it, I could be the best at it in the world. And I truly believe that with all my heart. But what do I fucking pick?
Yeah. And it's a very deep question, but it's very great. And I agree with you because I feel the same. And that is why when people like us connect, we can understand each other on more of a personal level, as opposed to just like, oh yeah, we're both like this, let's compete. Because if you can get two people that think the exact same way, imagine what you can create. In the book, The Law of Success by Napoleon Hill, he speaks about the mastermind. And when you have multiple people thinking about the same thing, that generates far more output than it would if you had 10 people that weren't aligned trying to do the same task. So the way that I see it is, how do I differentiate between what deserves my time and what doesn't? Is I look at my overall goal for the time being, whether that's in 5 years, 10 years, whatever kind of timeline I want to look at. I say, okay, what deserves my time right now? Because what is actually going to contribute most to the overall thing? What is it that I'm most passionate about? And for me right now, the passion I have is sharing value with the world, sharing insight, and I want to impact and inspire as many people as I possibly can through my own teachings and live lessons. So right now, it doesn't make sense for me to focus on some things that don't contribute to that. Whereas my health, I will never put that to the side, because without that, none of this even matters. If I can't even get on a call because I'm unwell or I'm unfit or anything, like let's just say that it can contribute to whatever. I can't travel somewhere because I've been not paying attention to the way I physically am, then overall I'm going to, it's all going to collapse. But the way I see it now on what deserves my time and energy, on what is growing the most and what is actually serving people the most. Because let's say, for example, with the community you're building right now, your time and effort, when you're a business owner, you can think, right, I need to focus on the admin. Now I need to focus on the community. Now I need to focus on serving. Now I need to focus on my staff. And it's like, you feel like you're being pulled from end to end. And you're like, how do I do this? And for most people, they think, I'll outsource it. They think, I'll hire someone for this. I'll hire someone from that. I'll hire someone from this. And that does make sense. As a business owner, it makes sense. But I think the key to all of it, and I know you asked, like, how can you choose where to put your time? But I also think that the most important thing is working with people you are in complete alignment with, regardless of what their resume says. They can be great at doing one task, but if you do not resonate or align with that person and you have a common mission, you're not going to get to the outcome. So I've always learned, where should I put my time and effort? Working with people that I align with, working with people that share the vision as me, and working with people or guiding people or helping people that are here and willing to learn. Because I can go out to the world right now and I can jump on free calls with people all day long, becoming a DM therapist if I really wanted to. But if these people aren't committed to change, that is not a good use of my time. So by creating a YouTube channel and by posting content about these topics and having people be able to find me for free and find out this information, the ones that really want to apply it, I'll end up speaking to them because naturally they're going to be gravitated towards me. So I don't need to go out there and try to heal the world by speaking to hundreds of people a day, just texting, whatever. So I've learned, okay, if I put all of my time and energy into the main thing, which is by being able to support people outside, how can I do that best? By focusing on me first. And I do it that way. I work backwards because, you know, we can use a cute analogy. If you want to get to my house right now, I'm not going to tell you direction by direction. I'm going to tell you the end point and you're going to plot your route backwards. So by knowing where it is you're heading and then being able to start from point A, you can now plot the milestones, the stepping stones, whatever the route you need to take to get there. And that is what deserves your most attention, because anything else, it will take you off in a different direction. And the same way you say the analogy about a train, the further away from home you get, the more it's going to cost you to get back. So just by keeping that main thing, the main thing, and anything else around it is just outside noise that doesn't deserve my time or energy.
What if I don't know what I want?
Great question again. And that comes down to you sitting with yourself and not allowing other people to make you feel like that's what you want. And I can give an example of this where I've experienced it myself. So there was a time in my life where all of my goals were purely built around a life that I thought I wanted, but it was actually a life someone else wanted. And I was just trying to build it in a certain way to give them that life. And as men, I think a lot of us are going to feel that, because we're going to feel, as a man, you're going to feel indebted to giving your family the best life you can. You're going to find out what your partner really wants, where they want to live, and you will make that your life's mission to deliver for them. And there's going to come a point in your life which, yes, it's the humble and noble thing to do, and you're going to feel great for helping your family achieve that. But then when you sit back and you look at it, say, was my goal really to build this, or was it to give my family the feeling of pure happiness and care and contentment, you know? And where I understood, or where I've now found, what is it I really want to do? Sit back again, it is about self-awareness and just realizing, okay, what is it that makes me the best? What is it that I can do effortlessly? What comes to me without me even having to try? And like you said, whatever you apply yourself to, you know you'll win. You'll be the best in the world at it. So what is it do you believe right now that you could provide to the world that other people can't? What do you think you could thrive in that no one could even have a competitive edge over you, because you naturally have it? You don't need to think about it. You don't need to even feel it. You just know that by doing what I do and being who I am, I'm going to come out with the best outcome and I'm going to succeed. That, by me stepping back into that and seeing that as a perspective of, okay, what is it I want? That helped me with running. Like, why have I set the goals I have? Why do I want to run a country? Why do I want to run the length of multiple ultra events? Because I know, because of who I am and the way I think, that I can't be beaten at it. I know that I will not succumb to pain or whatever. So that's what's helped me understand what is it I really want in life. Because I know that if I apply myself to hard things, I'll get an outcome that other people would only ever dream of.
Do you believe in creating your own luck?
Own luck?
Yeah. So luck is a combination of preparation and opportunity. So when people might see you traveling to 6 countries a fucking month by the looks of it, and running with your hat on, doing like great do you know what I mean? And they look at you and go, fucking hell. And then they might call you lucky because you've got this life that they don't. They might be sat in traffic on the way to their shitty office job that they hate, that they've not been, and they'll call you lucky because you have everything that they, in theory, want.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to people that look at someone else with a view of, you have this because, or you didn't work for that, you just got given it, or you just had that, I get it a lot, and I don't think I live that fucking much of a lavish lifestyle. I just sit at home all day with my dog, do you know what I mean? And people, I don't know if it's because I put myself out there with ads and stuff like that, but I have a lot of strangers messages me, but you're so lucky that you've got this, you're lucky, and I'm just like, I don't think I am. Like, I just fucking, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And what that is essentially is someone almost finding a way to externally pass on the hate they have towards themselves in their own life. It's not that you're lucky that you have your possessions. They may see it as, and again, I'm not going to speak to everybody because some people do have bad intentions, but the way I see luck for most people is all I did was take accountability for my actions, take accountability for my decisions, and it ended me here. And my message has always been the same. If you want what I have, I can help teach you get there. Like, I want to openly. I want people to be on the same level as me, because then we can close this gap of people going from, as we've already discussed, the tribe of people they don't want to be around and be with more aligned individuals. So if people just finally accepted that they are where they are because of the decisions they've made, and they say, right, I'm ready to make a decision that's going to completely alter my reality, then it would all be different. So I don't believe so much in luck, as you say. It's when preparation meets opportunity. But the issue for most people is we live in a deadline mentality, where you'll tell someone that something needs to be done in a month and they'll hear, okay, cool, I've got to do it on the 30th then. As opposed to, let me do it now, so when the opportunity arises, I'm already there. Like, for some people, they'll say, oh, well, I want to get in shape for summer. But they'll wait till the sun comes beaming out, and then they finally have a day where they've got to wear a vest or they're going to have their top off, and they're like, oh, man, I need to go to the gym. Like, that is where a lot of people are stuck. And they will say you're lucky, because all that is a reflection of them hating in themselves what they wish they had that you have. And by doing that and by outsourcing it, it's a way to outsource the accountability. Because it's saying, my life, my situation, the cards I was dealt is so unfair. My upbringing does not define or show you who I am. Honestly, if I put everything I'd experienced in my life into a hat, you would not pull out the outcome I have right now. My decisions brought me to this point, and the accountability of me taking those actions and decisions that would lead to this point is what helped me. So for a lot of people, when it comes to luck, it's just a poor mentality. And the thing is, well, like, if you was to say to someone, hey man, you can have my life, I'll share it with you, you can experience the exact same thing, but here's the terms and conditions, you have to go through this, you have to lose family members, you have to experience heartbreak, you have to have sleepless nights, you have to have all of this. Are you willing to exchange your current life for mine with these contingencies? And people will say, nah man, you keep it.
Mm-hmm. Everything has a cost, opportunity cost to everything. You want a good business, you probably have to sacrifice some relationships.
Mm-hmm.
You want a big bank account, you probably have to sacrifice going to the pub to watch the England match tonight.
Yeah.
You know, like there's sacrifice with everything, but it's what you want more, right? And I've noticed this when I was going through my, like, I guess lonely chapter, or more so just trying to always pick the better version before I changed my environment, before I'd physically remove myself from the thing. I really, really struggled to say no to stuff. I had huge FOMO. I didn't want to like miss out on stuff, but I also wanted this. And I was equally drawn to both. Like, I was like, I really enjoy and value social distraction, I guess, but I also really want this life. And I don't know if it's imposter syndrome, but I always look at myself and go, fuck man, you're weak because you couldn't say no. You had to, my way, my method was to physically remove myself from that. I couldn't be in that city, that environment, because I knew I was weak in that city, and I would always choose the easy, comfortable option. Is that a method, or do you think I should have sat with that and figured it out, and that would have made me more resilient?
I think being able to move yourself away is more strength than it is weakness. Because as you say, like, when you're sat in there and you know these things are doing it, you feel like you succumb too much to your current environment. But what that actually is the bridging of the gap between your current identity and the stated identity, the identity you want to become, the person you want to be, the life you want to live. So what you did was remove yourself from the environment that produced more of your current reality. And the thing that makes it hard is, right, and we can go like, I always add like a bit of a spiritual twist on it, but imagine it like this as an analogy. Imagine who you are right now is created purely by your decisions, your actions, and your thoughts and your habits, right? Okay. But if you want to become someone new, you have to accept and understand that that current version of you has to die for the new one to take place. So that version of you has got nothing. It may seem like your reality is terrible, and it may seem like a place you want to get away from, but that is your known. So for you to get away from it, that version has to die, and that's going to feel threatened. So even if usually it vibrates at a state of anger, usually if it finds joy in going out and taking drugs or whatever, sexual pleasures, whatever that may be, it feels like weaknesses in comparison to who you're trying to become. But to who you actually are at that current time, that is just who you are. That's your life. You're doing normal stuff. So when you can look from the outside in at someone else behaving like that, you think, man, what are they doing? They're wasting their life. But to them, they're just living life. because they're not aware yet that life can be different and that something should change. So by you removing yourself from that environment actually shows more that you were voting for the version of yourself you wanted to become than it was as being weak for looking at those distractions. Because we can beat ourselves up that we fall back into old vices and we distract ourselves, but the closer you get to that new life, the more you're going to feel your old life pulling you back. You're going to have signs, you're going to have different tests, you're going to see so much stuff come up that's going to make you think, oh, maybe I'll do it. Like, have you ever experienced it in your life where you're on the verge of a breakthrough, you feel it coming, and you'll just get a random message and you'll think, well, life's going pretty good, I'm making a bit of money now, so I can enjoy it, but it's not going to destroy everything I've built. But then you sit there and you feel the guilt afterwards of thinking, man, I've done so well, why did I do that? And it's how you feel about it afterwards that actually drags you back as opposed to the actual thing itself. And that, for a lot of people, is where they keep going wrong and why they keep going around in that cycle, because that was the old version of them trying to stay alive by enticing them to come back. And you can convince yourself, oh, it's okay. Yeah, it's just a test. That's all it is. And when you then say to yourself, no, I'm not doing it, and the more you do the right thing, the less inclined you're going to feel to do the wrong thing. So when you start to get in great shape, you start to see your business grow, you've now, you're having a family, you're doing all this stuff, all the stuff that used to be a distraction to you, how much less desirable is that to you now? Because everything you've built is incredible from what you've done. So you're going to feel far less more inclined to go and do that. Whether you still want to watch England sat at home, an old version of you may have needed to go down the pub and be 6 pints deep before the kickoff whistle blows. But now you see that as who I am. That doesn't even interest me. I've done so much of the right stuff to get to where I am. The idea of that isn't even something I have to distract myself from or convince myself not to do it. It doesn't align with who I am anymore. So going back to your original question of did that make you weak? No. You actually showed more of a sign of strength by being able to physically remove yourself from it and become uncomfortable for a little while and feel alienated and be in the lonely chapter. Choosing that shows a lot more strength and character than it does weakness that it used to be your vices, because back then that was normal to you and you were willing to walk away from it because you knew what was on the other side was going to be far more fruitful.
I think it comes down to the way you define yourself as well. It's like body dysmorphia for the brain. Like, you look in the mirror and you could have a fucking six pack. I've literally looked in the mirror with a six pack and thought, you fat prick. Like, you know what I mean? But if you'll see whatever you think of yourself, right? And when you think of yourself, like, we don't have to go deep into histories or anything like that, but when I was a drug taking, drug selling, alcoholic fatty, and I looked in the mirror and I was trying to start a business, teaching people how to, and similar to you, like, I'll only ever preach something that I've experienced, but even though, do you know what I mean? And you look in the mirror and you're still seeing that version of yourself. It's like torture to try and fucking be this mask or this version of yourself that you're trying to become. And like I said, it's like body dysmorphia for the brain, because you really are defining yourself as that past version of yourself. And I think people see it as like there's a cut-off point. There's like, oh, that's, like you said, like, old version's dead, new version's alive. But most of that is just crossover. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not old and new and then there's this nice clean break. It's like you start at like 10%, you start feeling this new version, but there's still 90% of old you still there, right?
Yep.
So how do we tackle or do you agree with me? Like, do you think we do act in accordance with how we define ourselves? Like, people who are trying to stop smoking saying, right, I'm trying to stop smoking. Well, therefore you're still a smoker. If you say, I'm not a smoker, not saying it's going to immediately stop it, but suddenly you're now not defining yourself as that thing.
Yeah, it's the identity. It is. It's like people that say they're going to get into running and they say, I'm trying to run. That tells me from your language you haven't got full conviction or commitment to that task. Because I would deem myself as a runner. It doesn't just happen overnight, but there's a point where you start to see some kind of metric, whether it be that you've, as you say, smoking, maybe you've not smoked for 3 weeks, and now you can say, well, I don't smoke anymore. So there's a metric that people will reach where they finally agree that that is who they are. And that comes with running in the gym. Yeah, I'm trying to go to the gym, to now I go to the gym, I train in the gym. Or I'm trying to get into running, I'm starting running, to I'm a runner. So there is definitely a crossover period where you're going from, as we've already discussed, when you get towards that last bit, you said it amazingly, there's 90% bad and 10% good is a way to frame it. But as you are going more towards of who you're becoming, it is a complete identity shift. And way you say like how we actually view ourselves, self-sabotage is a word, or imposter syndrome you used. That is a big part of this, and that's why our foundations are the key. because our foundations happen in different stages. So you're going to have self-awareness first of all, because you can't fix what ain't broken. Then you're going to start to have to face self-worth, self-belief, and build confidence. Either one will affect the one in front of it and the one behind it. Because if you don't have a good level of self-worth, you're never going to believe that you can achieve anything, which means you're never going to take action, which means you're never going to be confident because you've got no evidence to suffice that you can get the outcome you said you were going to get. So that's like the foundational layer, first of all, is first believing in yourself, feeling worthy of the success you're trying to get, and then being confident you can do it through taking the action. And then you're going to head into the second layer, which is where validation is. Where if you don't fully believe in yourself, you're going to need people to constantly tell you that you're great at what you do, because you need them to supplement the way you actually feel about yourself, because you don't believe it fully. So you're going to need someone else to say, Frank, you're an amazing podcast host, but you may sit there and think, I don't even know what I'm asking. So how long is that going to go on for? Because people can outwit and outsmart certain points for a little period of time, but then you're going to head into imposter syndrome, because if someone's not validating you enough to a high enough level, you start creating content, but you're not getting enough views, you're not getting enough likes, you're not getting enough comments, you're not getting enough people tell you how great you are. You can sit there and think, am I actually good at this? Like, can I actually keep doing this? Am I actually ever going to progress in this? And then that's the point where most people quit, because they think no one's listening to me, this isn't working, because I'm not confident in my abilities, I don't believe I can do it, and I don't feel the high level of self-worth. Which then can lead people on to going into the fear of success, because they may start to outwit everything else and they start to see success and they're like, I'm scared to win because I don't even think I deserve it now. I don't feel enough about myself. I don't believe in myself enough. I'm not worthy of success. So they're going to self-sabotage, because even though they say they want the different life more than they want the current one, and their situation is terrible and they want to get past it, they're going to subconsciously self-sabotage because they want to stay in that comfort. So they're going to keep hitting these points of support and resistance where they're going to get to the breakthrough point where the new reality is just there. And then the test is going to come in that's going to say, how much do you really want it? How much do you want to get away from these addictions? How much do you want to get away from these bad habits, these bad people that aren't contributing to the attainment of a life you want? How much are you willing to do to get to that point? And because people don't even believe that they are who they should be, they will go and ruin it for themselves subconsciously. But if you can outwit and outsmart that, you're then going to experience this tenfold at the next level. Because now, let's say, for example, you're a content creator and you start seeing success in creating content. You're now feeling a little bit better about yourself, but you still need external validation. You start working with big brands, big companies. You start getting out there in the world, but deep down, you don't even respect yourself enough to think you deserve it. When you now self-sabotage and you ruin it from yourself, you're not now falling down from one step. You're falling down from a pillar because you've not been working on the internal parts. And like you say for yourself, with body dysmorphia, and you can look at yourself, and we're always going to look for ways to optimize. We're always going to look for ways to be better and whatever else. But the issue is how do we actually then channel that energy that we're putting out there? Because if we look at ourselves and we say, like you say, you've had a six-pack before and you thought you're fat, you need to cut your carbs, you need to go on more of a deficit. That could be two things. That could be one, you actually don't, and I'm not saying this was it, but there's two things that could have happened. There's one where you think, do you know what, I don't even feel worthy to look this good. I don't think I look that great because how I actually feel about myself. Or it could be, I know that I can be more and be better than this, so let me keep working harder. So that's the point where a lot of people get stuck, is because although they're seeing the success and the external is reflecting that you can do this, inside they think, I don't even deserve it. I don't deserve to be this good. I can't be better. What if people find me out? What if people see me for who I really am? And that's the issue, because people aren't developing the level of self-awareness to see what needs working on to overcome these things.
What was your most recent YouTube title?
The most recent one was, I don't know if I can change screen without it knocking us. I think we're good. So what's influencing you was my second most recent. Become it before you believe it. Yeah, become it before you believe it was also another video. That's my most recent. Yeah.
So that's sort of relevant to this, isn't it? Like, what is the antidote to imposter syndrome? Because it's something that I think a lot of people say and not many people know what it means, really know what it means. Like, is it real? Is it even real? Or is it just a fabricated thing that we overachievers believe and sort of name? Or is it, and if it is real, what is the antidote? Like, what can we do about it?
So yeah, imposter syndrome is very real, and it is simply a contribution or an entire build-up of the things I just mentioned. So you're going to feel like an imposter when you don't actually believe in yourself, or you have a bad relationship with yourself. And what that can be caused by is having a level of self-resentment. And where that can come from is for not forgiving yourself for past things you've done. And that can come in many forms. That can come in just having regrets so deep to yourself that you actually feel guilty to what you did to yourself. And you're not going to allow yourself to move through that. So you can feel like an imposter because although you're seeing success in a business, you might think, yeah, but these people don't know that I broke someone's heart before. I don't even deserve this. I really hurt someone before, and you're holding that internal resentment towards yourself. So you're going to think, I don't deserve to have what I have. I don't deserve to be on these stages and speak to all these people because deep down I think I'm a bad person. People will have a bad relationship with themselves and they will honestly self-sabotage because they think you don't deserve to win. You deserve pain. You deserve to suffer. And you were a PT at one point. You may have heard people in the gym say that. I come to the gym to suffer. I go to the gym or I train as hard as I do to put myself through hell. I do this to make myself feel this way because I deserve it. And when you're wired that way, to have a poor relationship with yourself, and the battle every day is, how can I make myself feel as uncomfortable as possible because I deserve to suffer? That is what will create the imposter syndrome, because people will be telling you that you're great at what you do, but because you don't think you deserve to even live a good life, you are going to then head into self-sabotage and ruin it for yourself. So it is all down to the relationship you have with you. And again, that may sound very cute, but there's a lot of things that people have done in their lives that they just cannot forgive themselves for. And it can even be something as simple as like trading, for example. Someone could have blown an account before and they didn't go on and make more money. So they'll convince themselves that I don't deserve to ever make more money than I have because last time I did, I made a mistake and I can't trust myself for it. So now I need to ruin it every time I see success. Same as building a business. I tried my best and I failed. So that must mean because I failed that I don't deserve to succeed. So because I don't deserve to succeed, that I'm going to ruin it every single time success becomes the next point of my life because I don't believe I deserve it because of the relationship I have with myself. So imposter syndrome is very, very real. And the way to deal with it, there's several ways. But first of all is heal the relationship you have with you, because you've got to spend 100% of the time of your life with you.
How?
First of all, writing it down. Because most of us put a lot of things in the back of our subconscious mind. The way to view your conscious mind and your subconscious mind is like, imagine going somewhere like Argos or Screwfix, right? We see the front desk, it's about this big, you get two people walk back and forth, but there's a warehouse out back. The warehouse is where the goods are, that's where your orders are, that's where everything's coming from. The front desk is just where you're putting the order into. So for most people, they are suffering internally and they're not actually even sure what it is, but you can say some trigger words and it'll bring the emotion up. So for some people, they could be in debt and they hear the word debt, tightness in chest, shortness of breath, tense shoulders, muscles tighten up, body gives a physical reaction. That is enough of a key understanding of what is it that is triggering me to feel this way? Why do I react like that? Why do I behave this way to certain situations? Maybe it's because of something that happened previously that has now caused a trauma response or is a trigger to something I experienced before that now makes me feel this way about even a word. A word can hold that much power against a lot of people. So by being able to actually, first of all, forgive yourself for what it is you've done, you've got to face it one-on-one with what you've done, because most of us don't even want to admit our own wrongdoings. Most of us may have made even a financial mistake. You could have took out a loan before, or you did something that really wasn't a good idea at the time. And although it's now past, you can think, I struggled to trust myself because last time I trusted myself, I made a massive mistake. And that means you are now not going to actually then make better decisions because you don't think you deserve the result of the better decision, because last time you thought you made the better decision, the outcome was negative. So the actual way to do it is writing down, first of all, what is it I'm holding on to? What is it that I'm so afraid of facing in the mirror? What is it that I have done to myself or to other people that I am holding myself accountable for this long now that I cannot even allow myself to feel happy? What is it? And when you get out on paper, as you keep going, as you know, like there's the practice of the 7 whys. Why? By the time you get to the bottom, you'll find out the real answer. You sit down, you're doing an exercise like that with yourself. What are times in my life that I actually feel guilty for? What do I resent myself for? You do that enough times, by the time you get to the bottom, you'll find the real problem. And then you have to just forgive yourself and say, listen, it was a decision I made from a level of consciousness I was at when the decision was actually then made. So by being able to just forgive yourself for, I would not know what I know now if it wasn't for the version of me that made the decision back then. Show some gratitude, show some love for that version of you, because if they didn't exist, you wouldn't. So by doing that, almost like people call it healing your inner child these days, it's the same process. But that inner child could literally be 6 months ago. And when you do that, you can now start to feel like you deserve more and you'll act in accordance to that.
Do you believe in regrets then?
Yep, definitely. Which is what ties in with that. I feel like there's a lot of things that we can regret and we can feel resentful for. But when we hold it as regret and we keep that energy as regret, that means I'm not willing to move past it, because you're constantly looking at it from a negative frame. Whereas if I was
I feel
to
like
sit
there needs to be a new word for regret, because everything you just said there is indicating to me, like when we first started this conversation, it was I don't know if I might be paraphrasing, not using exact words, so I apologize. But I'm grateful for everything I've been through. I'm like the journey I've been on is relevant because now it enables me to tell and help from actual experiences I've had and felt and seen. Right. So
Hmm.
you wouldn't be the coach and the person and the speaker and the the content creator, the whatever you are today, if you hadn't had the journey of stuff that's happened to you. So is it a regret or is it a necessary part of your past to enable to be the person you are now, and therefore do you regret it or are you grateful for it, or where, like, what is
Yeah.
it?
So current and the thing is, it's a great question, and there's different parts in life when you're going to feel different about it. And I can now say I'm grateful for what I've experienced because now I'm reaping the fruits of that labor. I'm experiencing the good side of what I went through. But when you're going through the storm or you're heading into the storm, you're thinking, man, why is this happening? You're experiencing it in real time, and you're going to have those what would feel regretful or whatever the repercussions are of the decisions that have led to that current situation. You're not going to have a positive outlook on it. So it's easy to say afterwards, through hindsight, I'm grateful that happened because I've now seen why it happened. But if you don't want to have to suffer with constant regrets as you go through life, it is a complete mental reframe. Again, I don't like being cute about it, but I look at everything I experience now as not so much as why is this happening to me, I look at it as why is this happening for me. So when I start to see people that are close to me gravitating away, maybe talking shit about me, maybe there's something that feels uncomfortable at the time, I'm like, I know something big's coming. I know something good's coming. I know a shift is coming from this because what is meant for me will never pass me. It never has. It's never failed me. Every time I've experienced a similar pattern to this, something bigger and better has come out the other side of it. So it can almost be like a coping mechanism or delusional optimism. But every time I face a setback, whether that be financially, whatever, emotionally, physically, whatever it may be, an injury in fitness, whenever I've experienced it, I'm like, I know that this has happened for a very specific reason because I'm going to learn something in this situation that takes me to the next level. There's been so many things in my life that I've sat back and wondered, why did that have to happen to me? And then I'll have someone randomly come up to me at the end of an event and say, hey, bro, I know this is super random, but I need help with something. And they're heading into the storm that I've come out of. But because that I actually sat back and I used metacognition, thought about the way I was thinking and feeling at the time, and I've been able to reflect on times that were hardship instead of digging them deep down and forgetting about them. I now can speak from theory because I'm being able to tell you my actual experience from a place that I've been able to not just experience while I was in it, but sit back and look at it reflectively in hindsight. What did I gain from that situation? So by doing that and just not doing it to make me better or make me more money, but simply with the desire to understand what could have been in that, what's the message here? Because I'm not willing to accept that bad things are just happening to me. There has to be a reason this is happening. There has to be a reason people are turning on me, that my business has gone backwards. There's got to be something I learn here that will take me to the next level. And when you do that and you can see that silver lining, you will then progress further forward and you'll be so much more knowledgeable because what most people do is they're experiencing the same thing again and again and again. And they go, why does this keep happening to me? Because you ain't understood why you went through it the first time. Because you're still doing the same thing that led you to it. You're still doing the same thing again and again and expecting a different result. You're still trying to solve a problem from the same level of consciousness that was used to create it. So by looking at the problem you went through, you then headed into the storm, you went through the storm, you come out the other side. What did you learn while you was in it? At least take something positive from the bad that you went through. Because the way I see it, again, it could be delusional optimism, but I would rather walk away feeling better about a load of shit I went through than sat there resenting myself for it for the rest of my days. Because if I keep doing that, I know I'm putting myself at a halt. And by having the ability to look back on it and see the lesson, I can then pass that on to someone else. I feel like that's what we're all here for. We're here to experience things in life so that we can teach others. That's what mentorship is, right? People can't experience every failure, every setback themselves. That's why you get a coach. That's why you get a mentor. Even billionaires will have people that they seek counseling because they want to learn from them. How can I prevent 6 months of turmoil in my business based off the knowledge and experience you gained from what you did? How do you think people reach those high levels of success? What do you think mentorship's even for? It's to learn. And that we can mentor ourselves by looking at a past version of us as a mentee. And then now we are becoming the mentor to our previous self.
The best learning I have now isn't learning, it's teaching. I learn more from teaching than I do from learning. Does that make sense?
It does. Yep, definitely.
And I really encourage people to do this. And this is where like imposter syndrome can sort of tie into this and not feeling like you're good enough yet to teach. But honestly, so something I've started doing now, which is I'm still like a dinosaur with AI, but I've managed to figure out like Perplexity, and what it does, it sends me a notification every morning at 7 a.m. with like some psychology, human psychology, some sort of paradox, some sort of theory, some thought. Do you know what I mean? Just something. And my goal for every single day is to then either try and understand it more, have a conversation about it with someone, or teach it to someone. Right? And just doing that opens doors in my mind that I didn't know was there. Right? And I think there's a lot of merit in doing something like that, because the more access to information you have, the more you can then put it into layman's terms and repeat it back, the better you understand it, and therefore open up a part of your mind to go, fuck, I'm actually struggling with that. I didn't even know that this was a thing that people struggle with apart from me. I thought it was just this internalized, I'm a weirdo, I struggle with this, I don't know what it means. And it actually helps in then the journal side of it, where you write it down because you have a word for it. It's like there's a German word for the feeling trees get when leaves blow on them when it's been a sunny day. Do you know what I mean? It's like this. There's the natural. I can't remember what the word is, but there's this random word that describes such a niche feeling, and it's like that when you have like. It's like when I first found out about the hedonic treadmill.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. It like blew my tits off that this was a real thing that people felt and that I wasn't alone. And I cannot express how important doing stuff like that has been for me. What's your, you've mentioned spirituality a lot in this, and this sort of links to here because I think a lot of introspection can come from spirituality and stoicism and that sort of stuff. What's been your experience with spirituality?
Been deep rooted in me from childhood. Like I say, I did have an alcoholic mother up until the age of 13, 14. Actually, no, I was like 16. She's now 11 or 12 years sober. But during that process, she would always have spiritual books on the shelf. So The Secret, The Magic, The Power, those books were always on a bookshelf. From like the age of 7 or 8 years old, I'm every day seeing these titles of these books. And it got to the point where, again, I think it started as a coping mechanism for my mum with like, she went into like crystal healing and like real deep spiritual stuff, but it helped me understand and learn a lot about healing properties and what actual holistic therapy is and just all these different things. And my experience with it was it led me down a route of not being so tied in with worldly things. So not being so focused on what is happening in my life because there is something bigger, better, more powerful, more knowing than me. And that I'm simply just part of a collective consciousness. I'm part of infinite intelligence. I'm here to learn so that I can teach, so that I can grow. And as you say, as you are expanding your mind every single day with these different things, you're learning these different words. There's a word to describe something that doesn't have a word. It's ineffable. You say the word ineffable, my love for someone is ineffable. That means there is not a word to explain how much I feel for you. And by learning these types of things and just continuously expanding your mind, and as you say, teaching it helps you understand it more, I can say without a shadow of a doubt, since I started my YouTube channel, I've become so much better at understanding different things because I'm sat there speaking out loud and then listening to myself say it back. I'm hearing my own voice tell me the information. So by learning something, applying it and teaching it and sharing it with someone else is definitely going to build a level of repetition in your mind. Because it's like, well, I've seen it before, I've heard it before, and now I've heard myself say it, so now it's landed a lot more concrete. And the way of doing that, and when you do that, you expand your mind to such a point that now when new information comes in, you can retain it. Because your brain, you're training your memory. Because for some people, they'll just speak the same stuff they've been speaking for the last 10 years because they've not learned nothing new. Memory is trained. It's not something that we've all just been given. So by, like you say, setting these little tasks for yourself, learning something new theory, you become more knowledgeable. Look at Chris Williamson. Look how many people he's interviewed. Look at all the random stuff he can throw out. That's because he's sat there and he's now this complete wealth of knowledge from just speaking to so many different people from different walks of life. And that tied into my spirituality has really helped because it's given me different perspectives. I'm now not sold on just one fact. I don't just look at something from one perspective anymore. And I've had to also learn this through coaching and speaking to many people and delivering messages, because if I go super spiritual and I start just speaking about vibrations and all that sort of stuff, for some people that could lose them. But then if I know how to tie that in with logic, to a point where the message lands with all different types of people, that's like, okay, yeah, that now makes sense. So by having a spiritual outlook on life, whether that is through Christianity with Christ, whether that is through, as I say, spirituality with vibrations and law of attraction and manifesting and all these different things, they all tie in the same way. So that for me has also been a level of fascination, because I'll read a passage in the Bible that will speak about, if you speak as if it is yours, so it shall be. And then I'll go out and speak about the law of attraction and infinite intelligence and manifestation. I'm like, okay, that makes sense, because I'm seeing the same thing just in different forms. So that, again, everything I've become started as cope. It started as a way to just deal with life. And now, because I've been able to really adapt the mentality of why is this happening for me, as opposed to me, now I can see the silver lining and everything I've experienced. That's now what enabled me to be able to share the information I do, because nothing can be taught to the extent it can from true experience. Like, theory is only going to do so much. Look at therapists. I don't know if you've ever been to therapy, but I have. And there's times when a therapist has sat there and tried to tell me what's wrong with me, and I'm like, what semester at university did you learn about this bit? Because the way you're talking to me tells me you don't actually know what this feels like. So that's why I'm a very empathic person. I've always cared how others are, and by understanding how I experienced it, I can share that with someone. I can say, this is what I did when I went through it. And that actually has a proven result, as opposed to a textbook saying, yeah, that makes your client come back for another 50 quid an hour if you tell them that. Whereas by speaking from experience, they can see the change in me, they trust the word, and it goes and helps them change and grow.
Do you mind me asking, have you ever disliked these traits of yours?
When I didn't understand that they were a gift, yes. At first I thought it just made me different and that I was alienated, I was like, what is wrong with me? Why do I think this way? But then when I started to see that it brings other people joy, and I start to see the quality of my life increase, and you start to see the physical rewards of the work you're doing, I was like, I'm so grateful I'm me. Like, no one can be me better than I can be me. So why would I not just be me to the fullest extent? I want to win at everything I do. I want to succeed. Anything I apply myself to, I win. Why don't I just win at being the best me? Because no one can do that better than I can.
You're infectious, man. I feel like I can go and take on the fucking world now.
You can, bro. Without a doubt. You already do. Sounds cute. I know it does, but this is what I believe in. Like, I believe we all should feel that about ourselves. Why not? Why would you not want to? Why would you not want to wake up every single day and look in the mirror and say, I'm a champion. I know I can succeed. Whatever I face today, there's a reason behind it if it's negative, and I know I can do something better with it the next day. Why would you not want that? It's a better way of living. Even if all of this is fluff and bullshit, even if I get to the end of my life and someone meets me at the end and they say, well, everything you taught was rubbish. I say, well, I tell you what, it felt good while I done it. I felt like I left a positive impact on the world while I was here. And that's all that matters. That's the only point. Some people don't value their life enough to take things seriously. Some people take their life so serious that they don't take it serious enough. Meaning they're so fearful of what other people think about them that they're not going to take it seriously to go and build a life that's actually worth living. Imagine that. Imagine being so concerned of what someone that isn't going to know you in the next 5 years is thinking about you, that you're not going to go and give your family the life they deserve. Imagine that. To me, that is the worst disease you can have on this earth, is not fulfilling the maximum potential you have.
I've got a theory that I learned. It wasn't mine. I can't remember where I learned it though. That you should only listen to the people that will be at your funeral, or like at least consider their opinion.
Yep.
If they're at your funeral, listen to it, or at least acknowledge it, because we are paralyzed by fucking opinions. Like, you cannot do anything without being judged either way.
Mm-hmm.
You have this opinion, the other. It's just extremes no matter what. It's always an extreme. And as long as you're acting in alignment with your beliefs in yourself and your good intentions, maybe not your bad intentions, your good intentions, then what else can you do? What else can you do? As long as you say it with your chest and own it and believe it and speak it and have it, then your people will find you. And if you're fearful of going to the pub, and I remember going to the pub and talking about fucking just like the region beta paradox or something, and I'd be like, I've just learnt this really cool. I'd talk about it and I'd be looked at like, what the fuck are you doing? Yep. Like, what are you saying?
We don't talk about that sort of thing.
I bet you've had that, haven't you?
Many times. That just comes to comfortability in who you are, you know. There's many rooms I've been in where people look at me and they're like, mate, what are you talking about? And I know I've took it to the extreme. You just, after a while, you start to gauge who you're talking to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But one thing you mentioned there, like if they're not going to be at your funeral, don't take their opinion. Something I think a lot of people get strayed with, and I've been guilty of saying this in the past, and something that we also have to accept is as we grow as people, our views and our beliefs are going to change because now we've got more experience to back them as our current beliefs. So there were times where I used to say, follow people who have what you want. And that made me realise after experience of life that there were people that had what I wanted externally, large sums of money, great income, people around them, but they were pretty shitty people. And I was thinking, why am I going to follow someone that may have a super yacht or they've got great income or whatever else when they actually aren't a great person? So I changed that perspective of follow the people that are who you would want to be. So now the people that I pay most attention to and I'm most coachable by, and I only accept their opinions, is people that, of course, have an element to what it is I want. But there's some people that are in my life that don't have any finances whatsoever, but they're amazing people and they're an abundance of knowledge and they can teach me anything about anything. And when I started to appreciate more about who someone is, that made me realize that, okay, what I have externally doesn't define me. And there's something that you'll never catch about me is I never speak about my income online at events to other people. And there's a specific reason. One, I think it's a mad marketing technique that some people sometimes have to use because I understand it brings in eyeballs. When you say I'm earning this much money, do whatever, it's a marketing technique. But some people make it their actual identity. They make it who they are. And what I learned was if I continue to tell people to follow me because of what I have, if I no longer have what I'm claiming to have, what are they going to follow me for? So my reason has always been follow me for who I am, not for what I have. And that's why I don't make income claims. I don't say I'm making X amount a month. I always lead with who I'm becoming, what I've learned and what I've experienced, because that you can't take from me. You can't take me from being me, but you could take everything I own. You could take my house. You could take my laptop. You could take everything. But if you only value me based on what I possess, that means you're going to leave for someone who has more than me in those desires. Whereas when you know that you can come to me for who I am, whether I'm financially well off or I'm broke, you're always going to get the same level of energy, the same level of response, the same level of love. That's the type of person that I would want to follow myself. So I am that person so other people can follow people that they want to be like. And that's just what my personal ethos has continued to be. And I think people should want to be better. They should want to win. They should want to succeed. And we use finance as an external way to distract ourselves or make ourselves feel better about how we're feeling. But there's something, for anyone that listens to this, is right now chasing success and they're stuck in the hustle mentality and all they're trying to do is grind. I assure you, even if you start to make $1 million a month and the anxiety from being broke now leaves you because you no longer have to worry about not having enough to pay your bills because the money's there to cover them, you will go from being fearful of being broke to fear of losing the success you now have. Because like we've already discussed with the imposter syndrome, because you've now shifted your external reality but done nothing on the internal, you're now going to think, what if I go back to that life? You don't even believe you can keep what you've got because it's been built on weak foundations. So you may be able to throw something up and suddenly have a massive spike in income and start seeing great success and whatever else can come from it. But if you do not become the person in the journey, it's going to be taken from you just as fast as it came. There's a reason why 90% of lottery winners go broke. Because they get given a sum of wealth from a broke mentality and they think they can go out and make something happen with it. The way you think is what caused your situation. So why do you think now having an abundance of money is going to change it? You have habits to spend more than you have. So if you've even got $1 million, your habit is to spend more than you have. You're going to find a way to burn through that money. So that's why I continue to tell people, as much as it's boring for people and it doesn't give them a dopamine hit or it doesn't give them that...
Sexy.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't sell because it doesn't sound it's exciting for people. But at the end of the day, the way I've always seen it is people are going to come and listen to this kind of message when they need it, when there's nothing left, when they're done with all the bullshit, they're done with the hype, they're done with the marketing, and they come to it and they're like, do you know what? I want to change. Because I'm sure you can agree. And, you know, if we went into what do you see most objection-wise and what is the real problem behind the veil you see when you're on sales calls, the problem for me isn't always that people are scared to spend money. They're scared of who they have to become when they go on this journey with me. Because I'll hear people say all the time, I'm ready to go all in, man. Your all in is not my all in. Because my all in means I'm willing to do whatever it takes to succeed. Your all in means I'm going to try and convince you that I'm willing to do what it takes. And my actions are going to constantly contradict my words. So when people actually then disappear and like, oh yeah, man, I'll pay on Friday. And then you don't hear from them. It's because they've sat back and thought, am I who I need to be to actually succeed in what I'm going to do? So by changing that mentality of if I'm around people that are in a position I want to be in externally, but they're also a person of character that I would love to learn from because of who they are and how they carry themselves, then people start to get results. But this constant fear and this constant presence of anxiety of change is what is keeping people stuck where they are. We change that, everyone will win. Simple.
Do you think there's merit in learning from people? Because for you to get that perspective, right, where, hold on, I'm learning from people that aren't good people, but they do have, like, externally what I'd like on my wall or whatever. Like, I've got that on my wall. Do you think there's merit in still learning some lessons from those people? So, and creating it. This is what I say. And this is relevant to sales, but I think it's transfers to real life as well. Like, no one should sell like someone else. No one should get to their version of success how someone else got to their version of success. But it doesn't mean you can't take lessons from people that are successful and have versions. So if I want a £1 million, if I want a Ferrari outside, if I want a open mind, if I want a whatever, if I want to have like a really well developed mindset and be able to talk like you and have the skill, do you know what I mean? If I want those things, surely I need 5 mentors, right? Or 5 inspirational people. I might not like the way that this guy thinks, but he's got a Ferrari, so I can learn how to get a Ferrari. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is there merit in doing that? Because I don't think there's ever the perfect blend of person, right?
Yeah, most definitely, and it's a great question to say to clear a lot of that up. It is a case of not just go find the happiest, fluffiest person that you know, because it is a case of course, if they have what I want, clearly something in them has a level of understanding on how to attain what it is I'm trying to get. But if that's materialistic or external, clearly they've got the result. But what we then don't want to do, as you've just said again about having multiple mentors, that's the important part. Because first of all, having the self-awareness of what an actual person that you want to work with looks like and having your own morals, you're going to be attracted more to people that share the same morals and beliefs as you. So if you, let's say this for example, right? You've been on an offer before where there's a really great product, but the team behind it don't really care about the people. You're not going to feel as inclined to sell that product because you're like, personally, my moral compass tells me that I shouldn't bring people into that environment because they're not going to get the service they deserve. So it's about aligning your moral compass with those people because, yeah, there's times where I could say, well, this guy could get me to 1 million far faster than this guy, but what cost is that going to come at? Because I could go follow someone who could teach me a method that could scam people or could teach me a method that's unethical to my personal beliefs, but it will get me the outcome I want. But what is it that I can then protect in that journey? So I can learn a skill from them through marketing, or I can learn a skill through closing, or I can learn some kind of skill through leadership from that person, but don't make it your sole purpose to become exactly like them. As you say, have mentors in different areas. For me, I have a fitness coach. He's younger than me, but he's a triathlete, he's an Ironman, and he is one hell of an athlete. So I follow him almost blindly. He puts up my plan, I follow it. But the same way that I follow what he says in fitness, I wouldn't take his advice when it comes to building a business or a community because he's not done that. But I've got mentors that maybe don't focus too much on their health, but they make a lot of money, they're great at networking, and they have amazing moral compasses. So I'm going to take advice from them for that part. And the way to really know who should I follow, what should I do, it sounds more intricate than it needs to be. But the most important part and the key to it all is, who is it I actually want to become? Despite finding someone that can help me get there, who is it I actually want to be? Do I want to be a person of integrity? Do I want to be a person of humility? Do I want to be a person that cares about others? Understanding exactly who it is you want to be, and then find the people that can help you build the habits, the traits, the skill sets to formulate this version that you're trying to create. So yeah, it's about not just chasing, first of all, the external all the time, and first of all, being able to analyze the people that you're about to work with and say, how do they treat other people? Because if you go to a meeting with someone that has everything you want and you think that they're great and you want to learn from them, but they talk to the waiter like shit, you're going to think, okay, maybe this person does have my best interests at heart because the way they speak to other people when they're not actually gaining from them. So that's something, I think the best thing people can do is go work with all different types of people, and then by doing that, you're going to gain experience to understand who you actually want to work with. Because now I know the type of person I want to work with. I even know the type of client I want inside of my business because of where I've worked with great people, and then I've worked with shit people. And the shit people probably taught me far more than the good people did. Because by learning more about what not to do has helped me focus more on what I should do. Because I wouldn't have known what I should do if I didn't know what to go against. So like for you, you could run an ad that had loads of leads come in, but they're all weak. none of them could afford your service. You'd be like, right, okay, well, the ad style worked because it managed to generate leads, but it generated the wrong one. So what should I focus on from that now? So you can build by process of elimination. And the same thing works in mentorship. Doing process of elimination by saying, right, I'll take these bits, I'll apply them here, and that's going to help me get to where I want to. But I should leave that part alone because I've seen how it can negatively affect others or even the person involved.
I've got this thought that I'm absolutely obsessed with at the moment that I feel like I'm going to write a book on one day when I've like fully understood it. And like being curious. I think being curious is the catalyst to everything that you want.
Mm-hmm.
Curiosity, action, and obsession. I think if you've got those three things, I don't think you can fail in anything. I don't think you can fail if you're curious enough to look at things and have like remove your ego from something and try and be a be a sponge no matter what scenario you're in. And like you said, for good or for worse, for good or for bad, you're gonna learn. You're gonna learn something, whether it's what not to do or
Mm-hmm.
what to do, and there is no negative in that. And what might seem as a negative, and this is going back to what you said earlier about if you're in an absolute shitstorm of a situation now and you can't see the wood from the trees, know that there will be light at the end of the tunnel, and you will learn from it, comma, if you want to learn from it. If you want to learn from it. If you don't want to learn from it, then it's going to happen again, and it's going to happen again. So I guess we'll finish on this. If someone is in, I didn't think it'd end up like this, how it started, but if someone is in absolute shitstorm right now, what would be your, I don't know, like quick application? How would you navigate it right now? What would you do if you're feeling like absolute shit and you feel lost and you don't know what to do, you don't know where to go? Love it, man. Thank you for what you do, bro. Honestly, you you're gonna be you're gonna be you already are, but you're gonna change a lot of people's lives, man. I know it. And you, man. We have to actually meet up at some point. It's gonna have to happen. No, I know, man. Harley, genuinely appreciate you. Where can people find you? What can they do? Love it, man. I watch all your videos. I'm a big fan. Honestly, you just even talking to you and hearing your energy and your passion for things, it's clear you're chasing, not even chasing, you're fulfilling something that you believe in. And I don't know if it was always like that. I don't know if that was always the path. I don't know, but what you're doing is going to change a lot of people's lives, and it already is. And I think it's going to be something. I think it's going to be something big, man. I think I do. I genuinely, and I'm rooting for you. 100%, man. I'll have to have you on again very, very soon. Since you're going to be a recurring guest on this. All right, bro. Chat to you soon.